Hello, I'm back. Today, I'm bringing you Shanling's latest, greatest little DAP, the M3 Plus. I bought this one with a modest discount from Shanling, so thank you for that. $469 for this DAP puts it into the lower to mid tier category. So it's competing with players like the FIU M21, the IBASSO DX180, the CAYIN N3 Ultra, of which I will do comparisons today alongside the little baby brother, the M1 Plus. So let's start off with some boring stuff, or maybe not exciting to you, and some specs, because it's good to go over what you're getting for $470, right? So 4.7 inch LCD Sharp branded screen. It's nice, it's clean, it's clear, and it's bright enough to be useful in full daylight, which I found. It's a 1280 by 720 high-res screen. Inside, it is sporting all new music section from Shanling in the electronic side, the FPGA, the controller. So it's going to be a bit, and I'll go over the sound signature in this review. I'm going to timestamp it. So in the first section here, we're going to talk a little bit about the player. We're going to get into some sound. We're going to get into some comparisons. I'm going to throw you some pros and cons, and then I'm going to wrap it all up. How's that sound? Like you have a choice in this matter. Inside is sporting a Cirrus Logic quad DAC system that's user selectable, 2 or 4. It's using the CS, what is the 43198. So this is the chip of that Cirrus Logic that has the ability to use, it's not using the onboard amplification section, and in this case it's also using a pair of SGM, what are the 8262 amplifiers, and that's why I think in this player it's sporting some good power, and 800 milliwatts, or up to 800 milliwatts into 32 ohms out of the balanced. So it's running on the Snapdragon 665 processor with 4 gig RAM, 64 gigs of usable storage space in the device. All new audio circuits, as I mentioned, and the SD card on the bottom. It can go up to 2 terabytes, which is what's in there right now, that card, and no issues. So tested with that. Full open Android 13, folks, and that's what's making it different from the M1 Plus and the M5 Ultra, and we'll say even the XM5, because that's also helped. It's an Onyx player, but Shanling makes it for Onyx. So, two-way Bluetooth 5.0, LDAC, aptX, HD, aptX, SBC, the normal codecs, USB DAC mode, and USB transport feature as well. So, 3 colors. Mine is the mocha. Love that color. I saw it and it looks it's coppery. I kind of like it a lot. You can get it in black, you can get it in gray, and this new color. Inside is a 3500 milliamp battery. Now they say you get up to 14 hours in single-ended and about 11 hours in balanced. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, what I get out of it. The output impedance, if you're interested. Normally in some of the other Shanling DAPs, they had raising the output impedance, and in the XM5 and the M5 Ultra, it was up to 6.6 ohms out of the output impedance, where it could really color some sound, where I don't find that the one ohm output impedance and single-ended, and 1.6 in balance. Really didn't affect any of the gear that I tested, or if it did it in a very positive way. So just to finish up the about section, on the side is this really lovely, very tactile, very solid feeling volume wheel. I have a soft spot in my heart for volume wheels. This one is backlit. And I got a weird, funny grin on my face. One of the things I've been asking Shanling to do in all of my reviews for their players is backlight this volume control wheel. And I absolutely adore that with my Astle & Kern Con Max. I think that's a phenomenal feature where you can see the sampling rate, charge, light, and everything on it. Really easy to see. I like that feature quite a lot. And happy to report it's incorporated quite very well done in here. And it's subtle enough. The A and K is pretty bright at nighttime, where this one is just very well done, very well implemented. And I find Shanling products, one thing about their players and their gear is they're thought out. They're, so where on one side is the volume control wheel, on the bottom is your micro SD card and your USB-C slot. On the top is your 4.4 balanced and your 3.5 single-ended. On the other side is your 3 audio controls. One thing I did find a little weird was that the buttons they're in the right spot for your hand when you're using it one-handed mode, but the way this new design language contours, I find that it could be lower, where where it dipped in here. I would have liked to see those 3 buttons kind of implemented into that curve, and just being weird and nitpicky. Mine's already had it for a week and a half, and I got some finish coming off on the top of that button, and I think that's probably why, because you're hitting it all the time and you're rubbing it off. So not sure how long-term durability is going to be on this finish if it's already starting to come off. And maybe that's just mine, I don't know. But again, I've only had it for a few weeks. Enough about that. Inside of the box, I don't do unboxings. Well, I did actually, a little bit. Simple enough to not have anything super stand out. I will say something about the case, and you can buy some with these cases. Mine is mocha, and I got the purple case. It's more like a lavender blue. Really nice. I'm talking about a case here. Yes, I am. Has a magnetic closure. Has an open cutout on the sides for your audio controls. And again, a nice open cutout for your volume control. The top has your 2 cutouts for your outputs. And on the bottom is a big open section that you can access the SD card and the USB-C. Let's get into sound in this next section, because that's the most important part in my world anyway. And I'm pretty happy to report on this one. I've been in the past, I wouldn't say critical, but I guess I had a love for the older players that I had sold, and maybe it's a bit of a regret. Where I've had them all, M8, M6 Plus, M6 Ultra, M5 Ultra. What else? I've listened to the M8T as well, the latest one. And I keep saying and wishing, I guess, to go back. And if we talk about house signatures, right? About sounds, about if that's a thing on players, and I think it is. And I do think Shanling knows very much how their players sound, because when you see their responses on like HeadFi, they give you pretty good indication of how they sound. People always ask, how does it sound to this one, right? Versus this. Is it warmer? How's it coming out? Well, I'm pretty happy to report that this is a hybrid in sound, in my opinion. It's a very welcomed step back into the traditional Shanling house sound with that warmer kind of sound signature. Yet take into account all the best things about the latest ones, which was a little bit more resolving, a little bit more detailed, more analytical. A very good amalgamation of the two sounds, and this is a really nice mid-tier DAP for that. And let's get into deeper dive into the sound. So some of the gear that I used in my testing was the Icelab Prismatica. I've used the Unique Melody Stardust, which is, let's go back for a second. This IM, the Icelabs, it is incredibly source sensitive. And I'll get into that in its own review. It's kind of interesting, where the Stardust is a very resolving, very analytical IM with a bass boost sound signature. Very, very revealing. And I used that, and I used my Alpha Omega Omegas and some Hi-Fi-Man planar headphones. So that's what was the gear that I used. The cables, I typically stick to my DD Hi-Fi for my interconnects, for my IM cables. My headphone cables are all from them. I just like the way they sound. So the M3 Plus, diving the deep dive here, I would say it's a very neutral projection of a sound signature. It's not boosted, it's not recessed in any of the frequency ranges. Some DAPs you get, and I heard the M21 from Fio, the new one, is kind of a neutral sounding with a bass boost. Well, this one in the Shanling isn't bass boosted. It's actually quite neutral across the entire frequency range. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is boosted. The highs aren't boosted. The upper mids aren't boosted. It's not recessed. And the bass is full and organic, but not boosted. So on the sound side, I do think it is a warmer and smoother DAP from their previous releases, and that's definitely the case for the M1 Plus, the XM5 Onyx, and the M5 Ultra, in my opinion. It's a lovely DAP for energetic gear, and I think would also help tame down some of those IMs that had too much mid-forwardness, and in this case, like the Icelabs, that it needs more into the organic mids to make them sound right. Otherwise, that sound sounds mid-recessed. The M1 Plus did a fabulous job on that set as well. Now let's get into the versus section here. Okay, versus the M1 Plus, this little guy here, really good size. Again, I like this DAP for having a volume control wheel and having the nice, again, easy to use controls. This is a really smaller DAP. Certainly crushed the heavy R1 in my opinion, sound wise and feature wise, that's for sure. The M1 Plus, this guy here is more mids forward, definitely. The M3 Plus, noticeably warmer and smoother, but much more musical, more resolving, and way better balanced. I did like the sound signature of the M1 Plus, especially for its, $200 plus price. It's fabulous DAP. The M3 Plus is a noticeable, considerable step up in sound, for sure, across the board for every metric. The M1 Plus is, again, it's a bit mid-forward. It's not as cohesive. It's not as balanced. More raw, I would say. Less polished. A lot less polished. A great sounding player, but not at this level, right? So listening to the M3 Plus versus the M1 Plus is like taking the digital glare off and replacing it with an analog filter. That's the best way I can describe the two. And it's a very nice and very welcomed signature sound change, in my opinion. While not the old school house sound of Shanling like in the past, I certainly do like the direction Shanling went with this player. Now versus this guy. And again, another player that I thought was absolutely standout. And this is the IBASSO DX180. Again, I'm a massive fan of these volume control knobs. I hate where Hibby places it on top. It's totally useless for me. I don't know why they do that, but again, some people would love that. I'm not a huge fan. With the IBASSO, they have these buttons on the side, and one of their critical things I find about their players and their cases is that they're not very tactile, and it's easy to press. Don't like that, where the Shanlings are definitely sticking out more. They're more prominent and more tactile, and they're further away to hit it less accidentally, right? Especially in your pocket. The DX180 for sound-wise is, in my testing, more neutral sounding, less uncolored. Bass is punchy, it's tight, there's nothing elevated, it's kind of a natural sounding, uncolored DAP. Really nice for that. The M3 Plus now, though, in contrast, is a warmer sounding DAP. It's thicker in the mids, the bass is deeper, more organic sounding. It's filled out a little bit more. I would say out of these two, which kind of surprised me, was that this is a slightly more resolving DAP than this. Was not expecting that, and actually took a bit of burn-in for that to happen, by the way. My first couple impressions, sound impressions with the M3 Plus, it didn't wow me right off the bat. It took some hours of burn-in to actually get it to, I think, where it is now, maybe like 30, 40 hours, really. And that was a big surprise that it was actually that resolving. The M3 Plus also, though, projects a much bigger, larger stage over the DX180. Again, I wasn't expecting that. This is less money as well. I think it's like $60 less money than the DX180. Though this one does have a tremendous amount of more internal storage space, if you care, and I do like that feature of that player as well. But between the two, talking about sound, the Shanling just sounds more musical and less sterile, right? On the fabulous, wondrous, unique melody Stardust, it's a very resolving, uncolored IM. The M3 Plus really just brought it out the best in this IM, and was an easy pick between the two. If I was listening to this IM, I would pick up the M3 Plus over the DX180 in a heartbeat. And synergy has a big part to play in what you're picking up at this time. If you know that this IM would like something a little bit warmer, a little bit more musical, then that's what you'd put it on. And especially with uncolored IMs, because then you're really changing its sound signature with its source. And for those of people who say that sources don't make a difference, then you have terrible ears. Sorry. Or that's not fair. I've had 30 years of audio experience training these years, and people helping me to get to where I am. So that wasn't a very fair statement, right? I just had maybe a lot more experience. And I listen to a lot of gear. So Let's go to one more. Let's talk about the N3 Ultra from CAYIN. And now I have a love-hate relationship with this tube hybrid amplifier. One of the things I said on solid state mode, that it's and the amplifier section that it's using, and it's very sterile sounding amp, and the amp section is very analytical. It's very clean and dry. Doesn't instill a lot of emotion into your gear, and if that's what you're looking for, the N3 Ultra is your go. On tube mode, it does, on those Raytheon Jan tubes, it does add a little bit of thickness and warmth in that. But somebody asked me to do a comparison in solid state mode, so that's what I'm doing, because the M3 Plus doesn't have tubes. So some of the things we'll talk about, and the pricing again is higher, $529 I believe for this one versus $470 for that one. So again, $50 more for the CAYIN. It's non-Android. It has a version of Hibi OS that you can't modify. It does have some really cool features from the Hibi thing, like importable PEQ features from Auto EQ. It has a nice digital out, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no over-the-air updates. It's just raw player, really. Sound-wise, though, simply more musical, less sterile. But the big difference, I think, is the power difference. I always said the N3 Ultra was underpowered. There were sometimes I would have the Dyna Quattro. Really can't drive this, even at high gain. It runs out of juice. It's 600 milliwatts, I think it is, at the most it can pump out, and it's just not enough for that IM, and it's not dynamic enough in the amplifier section to give that gear, or my full-size cans, the Hi-Fiman 400i's that I've modified, enough to make them sound, I think the CAYIN is underpowered, really. On the Ice Lab Prismatica, on the CAYIN, when I was listening to the comparison, that's where that IM on that player sounds mid-recessed. It really does, and it's thick in the upper mids, and it's just unengaging, and then the highs kick in, and it's just too much here, not enough here, and okay down here. And that's how it come across. Like I said, that IM is very, very source selective. Did not sound great on the CAYIN, where on the M3 Plus, it all of a sudden filled out really nicely. It sounded way more balanced, full and balanced, actually. On the Stardust, so I thought, okay, well, let's throw it back onto the Stardust and see how that sounds. It was kind of the same experience, only more so, because that's a really uncolored IM, and doing that, you get a very good sense of the source gear you're using, because the other side of the gear, the IMs in this case, were not coloring the sound very much at all. It just like the CAYIN made the Prismatica sound lifeless and dull, it did the same thing to the Unique Melody, where on the M3 Plus, it sounds effortless, musical, full, balanced, and very engaging. So let's go over some pros. And this is leading up into the conclusion here, so I kind of mix them in together, right? So some of the things I like the M3 Plus very much in its sound signature, and the direction Shanling was going with this design style. I do find the edges very sharp to hold on to without the case. I think it needs this case to kind of take the edges off when you're hanging on to it. That's one thing. I think the new design elements look fantastic. I really do. I wish, again, they probably would have moved that down, but it's in the right spot for your fingers. But kind of not the right spot for that when that wave on the side hits. It's it's well laid out. I do like the solid feeling volume control over the DX180. Definitely, I like that quite a bit. And the CAYIN also, I like the feel of this volume control better than these other two players, and that's saying quite a bit. And I like how it sticks out a little bit more than the M1 Plus does as well. So I think they took a little bit of the criticisms out there, listened to people, and on this revision of this player made it even better. I love that RGB light. The sampling and charging light is very tastefully done. I like the case. I like the magnetic closure, well spaced for the controls, that it's open here as well. I like that. I thought maybe it would be better to have this less open on the bottom, but again, thinking about that too, it's nice to have the memory card accessible where you don't have to take off the case. But in this case, the case is really easy to take off, so I think it might even been better to have this less open and more protected. That's just me. I like the sound signature of the M3 Plus. Taking a play out of the newer releases with great details and resolution, like the XM5 Onyx, and combining that with some of the old school, warmer analog house sound of Shanling of the past. It's a welcome surprise, and a return to its older tunings will be welcomed by a lot of Shanling fans, including this one. I like the use of the Edict player, though I'm not completely enamored with Edict. I do think, and that's the house player, the Shanling. And it's kind of interesting is there's a work mode when you do the pull down. I should have shown that. So when you do the pull down, there's a work mode, and it says Android mode, Prime mode, which it bypasses as much Android as possible. It goes directly to the Edict player. There's USB DAC mode, the Bluetooth amp mode, and AirPlay, all on one little screen. So that was really nice. I like that. I'm not going to get in too much into the software, and that's the beautiful thing about Android is that, okay, well, on here I also have Tidal, I have USB Audio Player Pro, so you could put any of the music player apps on here, where with the proprietary ones, it's just, Edict Player or Hibi OS version, or, you know what I mean? So I like Android 13 for that. I liked, and a feature that I use, people don't talk about, is using a companion app. So if you have it on Edict Player here, and it's kind of like what Hibi does as well, Hibi Cast or whatever, they also have where you can make this the controller or make this the source and control it from your phone. So when I'm listening to stuff, and this is either like in a pocket or when I'm on the SkyTrain, whatever, cooking, and I'm reading or doing something else on my phone, I can control it from the Edict player, and it's easy to set up, and it works every time from my other devices. So I do like that feature, the companion app to control the M3 Plus from my other devices. I think that's a feature that people don't talk about enough, and I use it quite a lot, so that's for me. I like the size. It's relatively light. I think these two are about the same, and this is the DX180. The DX180 is about 2 millimeters thinner if I took the case off, and about 5 millimeters taller, and the width is about exactly the same. So sticks out a little bit more with the more protruding volume control knob on the DX180, where I find that if you, even with the case on, you will find that it's easily accessible, but not easily muckable. right? I like the full Android functionality. I really do, over the proprietary softwares of these other players. I think that's something that I've been looking forward to in a newer release of a Shanling, and it's here. I like the screen brightness. I like the clarity in sunlight. I think I said that. So when I'm working around the yard and we're on the deck chillaxing, I can still see the screen, no problem. No problem. I love the power output because driving, here's my picture of the Hi-Fimans off of the M3 Plus, and when I was playing with the N3 Ultra, I can't drive those cans with that DAP. Just not enough juice. The DX180 will do it, but not the can, and not the M1 Plus either. But the M3 Plus definitely has enough juice to drive those full-size cans. I think it'll drive pretty much everything except for those ultra hard to drive full-size cans. So let's get into some things I'd like to see better. Battery life could be better on balanced mode. With the quad DAC engaged versus the two, you can have 2 or 4 of the DACs engaged. I full on 4, right? Go big or go home. I would get 3 to 4 3-hour listening sessions. So for me, that's enough. That's for my case usage. Good. No issues there. And that's really it. I mean, I had another note to talk about the case, but that's not really so much of a negative on an accessory. So if we just sum this entire video up, what I thought was standout, the great look and feel. Size-wise and weight-wise. A terrific sound signature with a great blend of technical chops and a slightly warmer tilt for an organic, natural-sounding signature. Lots of power to drive, again, all but the most crazy full-size cans. Perfect one-handed carry DAP. And priced very competitively, enough for the competition like IBASSO and Hibby and others to take serious notice. And they're going to have to up their game next round, that's for sure. Shanling did a wonderful job on the M3 Plus. Full kudos to you. There's not too many cons for me on this player. I just like the way it sounds, feels, and looks. So, bing, 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 bing. Stone Deaf Mug, out for now. Thank you for watching again.